This semi-ghost town has one of the most unique and turbulent histories in the West. We'll show it to you right now on Ghost Towns and More. In the northern central region of Oregon lies an unassuming semi-ghost town that started out in about the 1860s as a stagecoach and freight stop. Nestled in the rugged rolling hills of Wasco County, this tiny outpost served as a critical resting place for travelers moving goods, livestock, and mail along the trails of the American frontier. The name that came about for this place was Antelope, traditionally assumed for the pronghorn antelope that roamed the area. These swift, iconic creatures were a common sight across the high desert plains, a fitting namesake for a town built on endurance and survival. The driver of the economy in this locale was that of sheep ranches, and from 1870 to 1910, the town experienced a period of growth and wealth. Wool was a hot commodity, and thousands of sheep roamed the surrounding rangeland. Antelope became a central hub for livestock shipping, bringing merchants, traders, and families looking to stake their claim. In 1881, the original town site was moved a couple miles south to its present location, a strategic shift for better access to resources and supply routes. It marked the beginning of what could have been a promising future. By 1891, Antelope had its own schoolhouse. Disaster struck in 1898 when a devastating fire swept through town, destroying many of its early structures. A few years later, in 1901, the town was incorporated. Some of the early structures that were destroyed in the fire of 1898 were never rebuilt, and the ghost of that fire still lingers in the town's patchy layout and empty lots. Any hopes of rapid growth were dashed when the railroad, the lifeline of the West, stopped short in the nearby town of Shaniko. Built as the wool capital of the world, Shaniko became the northern terminus, and Antelope was left behind, out of reach of the main economic artery of the region. The declining sheep market in the early 20th century only made things worse, yet Antelope didn't disappear. It lived on quietly, supported by local ranching families and a small but determined population. In 1917, another critical blow came. A major state highway was rerouted to bypass the town. Traffic vanished. Business vanished. Antelope was left to dry in the wind. The town didn't receive electricity until 1939, and paved roads came later still, a sign of just how isolated this place remained through most of the 20th century. But through it all, Antelope stayed on the map. A tiny, dusty outpost where the days passed quietly, the stars shone bright at night, and neighbors still looked out for one another. Then came the event that would change the town forever and put it in the national spotlight. In 1981, a controversial quasi-religious movement known as the Rajneeshis arrived. Led by the charismatic guru Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, the group purchased a massive 64,000-acre ranch just outside of town. Their goal? To build a self-sustaining city called Rajneeshpuram, a utopia in the desert built on meditation, luxury, and loyalty to their leader. Hundreds of structures rose out of the dirt. Housing units, greenhouses, airstrips, and communal dining halls. The group even brought in thousands of homeless people from across the country in a move they called Share a Home. intended to sway local elections by flooding the voter registration rolls. As the community grew, the group turned its eyes to Antelope. With its small population and open elected positions, it was ripe for the taking, and that's exactly what they did. Over a short period, Rajneeshis moved into Antelope, bought properties, ran for city council, and ultimately assumed full control of the town. In 1984, the town's name was officially changed to Rajneesh. Longtime residents felt outnumbered, surveilled, and unwelcome. Many packed up their belongings and left the town their families had called home for generations. What followed was a period of rising tension, both locally and nationally. The community was riddled with rumors, stockpiled weapons, spying, internal power struggles, and escalating conflict with Oregon's government. Then came one of the darkest chapters in U.S. history, the first bioterror attack on American soil. In the fall of 1984, members of the Rajneeshi Inner Circle intentionally contaminated salad bars in the city of The Dalles, spreading salmonella to influence local elections. Over 750 people were sickened, and some were hospitalized. It was later discovered that this was just one part of a larger plan involving bugging rooms, immigration fraud, and attempted murder plots within their own ranks. The FBI raided the compound. Key leaders were arrested. Rajneesh himself fled the country on a private jet, but was caught and deported to India after a deal was struck. By 1985, the dream of Rajneeshpuram was dead. The town voted unanimously to restore its original name, Antelope. What remained of the cult's empire was left to rot in the wind. Buildings collapsed, signs faded, and nature began to reclaim what had been taken. Today, Antelope is home to only a few dozen residents. Some buildings stand abandoned, weathered shells of the past with peeling paint and sun-bleached siding. Others have been restored, slowly, by the hands of locals who never gave up on their town. Walking the streets today, you might see a hand-painted sign, a faded schoolhouse, or a storefront that hasn't seen a customer in years. But if you listen closely, the echoes of the past still whisper through the wind. Antelope remembers. The ranching glory years, the fire, the railroad that never came, and the cult that tried to consume it. This is Antelope, Oregon. A town that survived fire, famine, and infamy, and still stands. Stay tuned. More stories like this, only on Ghost Towns and More.